Ben was sitting in his car one Friday night after another 45-hour week. He was physically driving, but his brain had long since flown to another galaxy. The idea of cooking dinner seemed to him as impossible as climbing Mount Everest in sneakers. He opened the delivery app. He ordered Thai food, pizza, something that cost him $45 with tips and delivery. Then he drove home, opened a bottle of beer, sat down on the couch, and turned on some show that he didn't even particularly like, just to turn off the brain. Ben said to himself, "I deserve it. I've been plowing all week." But what if I told you that, mathematically, Ben didn't just spend $45? What if the pizza, the gasoline he burned on the way home, the beautiful shirt he was wearing in the office, and the stress that made him order this meal are all hidden taxes that reduce his salary by almost 70%? Ben thinks he was selling his time for $30 an hour, but after analyzing his life, mathematics shows that he probably works for less than $4 an hour. My name is Ben, and I spend too much time obsessing over the invisible equations that govern our lives and make us spin on wheels that move just a little faster than we can run. If you look at your salary and wonder where everything is going, or you feel like you're working harder than ever and there's almost nothing in your savings account, subscribe and like it, because today we are not talking about investing. We are talking about accounting fraud. We are going to calculate his real hourly wage, and I must warn you, as soon as you see this figure, you will never look at the price tag the way you used to. That's the basic lie we all believe from the moment we graduate from high school. We are told that our value is determined by our annual salary. If Ben earns $65,000 a year, that's about $31 an hour. It sounds good, respectable. Theoretically, this is enough for life. But in the business world, companies go bankrupt if they look at income without paying attention to expenses. If a bakery sells $1 million worth of bread, but spends $1 million on flour and rent, its profit is zero. However, when it comes to our own work, Ben looks only at the revenue, at the salary. It completely ignores the cost of the goods sold, and the product sold is himself, his life, his energy. Ben earns a solid $31 an hour, but even before this money gets into his account, the government takes its share. Federal tax, state tax, Social Security, and Medicare. These $31 are instantly reduced to about $24. But now, you need to deduct work-related expenses. These are expenses that Ben pays solely because he has a job. First, the road. The average American spends thousands of dollars a year on gasoline, car maintenance, and insurance just to get to the building where he makes money. Ben drives for 30 minutes each way. This is the wear and tear of the car he owns, in fact, just to get to work. According to conservative estimates, it costs him $4,000 a year. In addition, there are expenses for appearance. Ben can't get out of bed and go to the office in his pajamas. He needs casual business clothes. He needs a dry cleaner. He needs to look professional. These are expenses. There is a convenience tax. This is a big tax. Since Ben works in the office from 9 to 5, he buys lunch twice a week because he didn't have time to cook. He buys coffee for $5 because he needs caffeine to survive a meeting at 1400 hours. He pays to walk the dog because he is not at home to let her out. These are expenses that wouldn't exist if he didn't have a job. He spends money to work. The money Ben spends to numb the pain of work. That's the bill at the bar on Friday nights. It's an impulsive vacation that he booked because he needed to rest. These are the therapy bills. This is retail therapy. This is the money we spend to heal the damage that work does to our psyche. If you add up all these monetary expenses, taxes, car, clothes, lunches, overwork, Ben doesn't get $65,000 home. His net real income may be closer to $35,000, but we're only halfway there. Because salary is a monetary function divided by time. And just as we overestimate money, we grossly underestimate time. HR says Ben works 40 hours a week, but that's a lie. Ben wakes up at 6:30 in the morning to take a shower, shave, and iron his shirt. That's 30 minutes of work for an employer. He drives to work in 30 minutes. This is unpaid work. He spends an hour on lunch, which is technically not a work day, but he can't go home. He can't take a nap. He can't play with his kids. He He's a prisoner of the office. Then he drives home for 30 minutes. Then, when he gets home, he spends 30 minutes relaxing, staring at the wall, telling his partner about his boss, checking his work email on his phone. All this is shady work. It's time that belongs to work, but it doesn't get paid for. Considering self-care, travel, relaxation, and anxiety, Ben doesn't work 40 hours a week. He devotes 55 to 60 hours a week to his work. Let's calculate Ben's real hourly wage. We reduce the net income of $35,000 and divide it by inflated real hours, almost 3,000 hours per year. When you put that in the calculator, that $31 an hour evaporates. Suddenly, Ben earns $11 an hour, or $8, or, in some high-stress, high-cost situations, he mathematically earns less than a teenager who sells burgers because a teenager walks to work, wears a uniform, and relieves stress at a diner. This is a job scam. Ben was tricked into a high-cost, low-margin business model where he is a product himself and sells himself at a loss. We often participate in promotions that offer more money but come with exponentially high costs. Let's say Ben was promoted to manager. He's being offered a $10,000 raise, but now he has to work late every night, so he orders takeout every night. He has to buy better suits. He needs a car because he can no longer use public transportation. His stress level increases dramatically, and he orders a more expensive vacation. Perhaps after the promotion, Ben will find that his real hourly wage has decreased. He transfers more money into a bank account, but keeps less of it and gives up most of his life to get it. The system relies on Ben being too exhausted to do math. She relies on him being a passive consumer of his own life. She wants him to think, "I earn good money," and continue to sign a lease for a luxury apartment and finance the purchase of an expensive car, keeping myself trapped in a vicious circle. You need a job to pay for things that are bought in order to tolerate this work. Can Ben arrange to work from home 2 days a week, saving 2 hours of travel and $10 on gas? He had just received a substantial salary increase, and the company had not paid him a single cent more. Can he start cooking on Sunday? This will reduce the cost of the goods sold. Can he move closer to work? Can he stop worrying about what his colleagues think about his clothes? Every dollar he cuts is a dollar of pure freedom. But the biggest shift is psychological. Ben needs to start treating his work like a business. A smart business owner is not just trying to increase income, he's trying to increase the margin. Ben's life is a business. His margin is the time and money he has left to truly remain human. If he earns $100,000 a year, but spends $95,000 and 80 hours a week on it, his business is failing. He's at a loss. He's waiting for the crash. But if he earns $50,000 a year, spends $20,000 and works 30 hours a week, he is a highly profitable and sustainable enterprise. He's winning. We live in an era when time is becoming the main currency. The rich buy time. The poor sell it at a discount. Don't sell your time at a discount. Analyze your life. Reduce the costs associated with your work and start closing the gap between income and expenses, because that's where your freedom lies. If this video made you reconsider your salary, share it with a colleague who looks tired. We are all in the same trap, but together we can find a way out of it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next issue. Ben went to count his real watch and probably make coffee at home.